Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On-Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on-demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org.
If you've listened to Boise State Public Radio over the years, you've probably heard about Giving Tuesday. Again, this year, you can help spread the word about your favorite nonprofit organization. Visit boisestatepublicradio.org by Tuesday, December 2nd, to nominate a local nonprofit to potentially receive $1,000 in on-air messaging. You can help give back to those who give so much to the communities of Idaho with Boise State Public Radio.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. More Idaho Matters right now. It's time for the holidays, and that means it's time for a holiday travel. Almost 82 million people will travel this Thanksgiving. That's compared to last year when about 80 million Americans and almost 500,000 Idahoans spent the holidays 50 miles or more from home. Now, almost 90% of Turkey Day travelers last year went by car. Turns out, a lot of those folks suffered some road rage. That's according to AAA of Idaho. Matthew Conde is joining us again. He is the Public and Government Affairs Director at AAA. Nice to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, so Matt, how many Idahoans are we expecting to travel this coming week, Thanksgiving week?
So we're talking about 478,000 Idahoans and overall 1.6 million more people nationwide than just a year ago. So you reach a certain point where saying that it's a record is getting redundant around here because since the pandemic, pretty much every major holiday has seen just the doors blown off by people who are ready to get out there, hitting the road and going to the airport.
Okay, so I'm not even going to ask you then if we're expecting to break any records because I'm assuming the answer will be yes.
Absolutely, consistent with what we've been seeing. So definitely it's going to be busy out there. 1 in 4 Idahoans traveling for a Turkey Day trip this year. So the roads, the skies, they may very well be the busiest they've ever been.
Well, I'm staying put, and it sounds better and better when you hear that. So where are Idaho families heading for the holidays this year?
A lot of times it's the theme parks, but the number one this time around is actually Las Vegas. And then it goes
Really?
towards Anaheim and Salt Lake and Seattle. And if you're really feeling a little more in the warm weather mentality, Honolulu is another one.
Okay, so how much is it going to cost for folks to travel this year? Because I have to tell you, that's one of the biggest reasons why we stay put over Thanksgiving is because airfare goes through the roof this time of year.
That is always a factor, something to look at. Now, unless you're on a cruise ship this year, you're probably not going to have very much sticker shock. The domestic flights are about 1% more expensive, barely noticeable. But actually, the domestic hotels, on average, they're 3% cheaper than a year ago. The car rentals are down about 15% on average. So there are some savings to be had in those areas, and that may make the trip just a little bit more affordable for some.
So can we talk about the fact of where we were with airline travel? So when the government was shut down, those last about 10 days or so, we really saw canceled flights. We saw, airlines slowing down. Is there anything that folks need to be concerned about when it comes to flying next week, or are things basically back to normal?
I would say that the holiday travel mentality just came into play a little bit more with some of those cancellations. So getting there earlier, staying in communication with your airline, all the things that people would normally want to be doing. And we do think that for the most part, people are going to stick with those travel numbers. We know that we're expecting record number of people flying this year. And so it's going to be, again, very busy if you're going through TSA. And most people understand that you need to get through security early. And then that way you do have that flexibility if there is a sudden change to an itinerary or a gate or anything.
Hmm. And is the busiest travel day still Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving? Is that the expectation?
Yes, Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon before the holiday are going to be super busy. That's when you see the evening commuters sharing the roads. And, obviously at the airport, a little bit different story. But yes, they're going to be packed in there, in some cases like sardines, for those Tuesday and Wednesday commutes.
Okay, let's talk about traveling by car. Do you have any estimates on how many people will be traveling by car?
Yeah, it's going to be a big number again, Gemma. We're looking at 73 million people out there on the roads. And so, once again, 90% of the people going by car, which makes sense. People generally, that's kind of the sweet spot. A lot of people tend to go that way. They have the flexibility to kind of come and go as they wish. But make sure
Hmm.
you have your emergency kit with you as well. You want to make sure you have the basic tools, the first aid kit, the snacks, just in case something does happen. And obviously, being able to layer up with some additional warm clothing or blankets is a good idea as well.
And maybe have some like patience packed as well, Matt, because I want to talk next about this pretty alarming study that AAA recently came out with. It found that 96% of drivers have taken what's called aggressive action behind the wheel in the last year. That's pretty shocking. What would you describe as aggressive action?
The funny part about that, Gemma, is that we're usually the last ones to think that we're the aggressor. But when you start
Hmm.
talking to everybody and you come up with that number you mentioned, 96%, it ends up being quite a few of us that lose our patience at some point, whether it's honking out of anger or gesturing or cutting someone off or even aggressive speeding in different areas, weaving in and out of lanes, maybe stopping short and brake checking somebody. There's all sorts of behaviors out there. And our findings show a dramatic increase in specific behaviors that's really quite alarming.
So, what are these specific behaviors, Matt?
Yeah, so looking at cutting off other drivers, we did research about a decade ago, and when we compare that result from this result, and this is all self-reported, mind you, so this is people being honest with us as far as things they've done or say they've done. Cutting off other drivers is up 67%. Honking out of anger is up 47%, and making an angry gesture is up 12%. So you see just a real tone of on demand driving. We want the road and we want it for ourselves. And sometimes that means we're putting convenience for ourselves ahead of maybe safety for others. And that can be a
Hmm.
risky formula for sure.
And are there other behaviors that can be considered aggressive?
Oh, there certainly can. Red light running. 82% of the driving population said they'd done it at least once in the previous year. Passing in the slow lane, honking the horn to indicate that you're angry, and just staring down another driver. 65% of the people we spoke to admitted to glaring at another driver to let them know how unhappy they were. And as
Mm.
soon as you start doing those things, you're asking for escalation. And when that
Hmm.
happens, unfortunately, speeds tend to go up, risk taking goes up, and that's when you start to see increases in crashes, in serious injuries, and even in fatalities. So, the Idaho Transportation Department reporting that 49% of all the crashes last year involved some form of aggressive driving on Idaho roads.
And Matt, I saw a statistic, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that here in Idaho, 75 people died last year due to road rage.
That's true, and unfortunately, and it's that broader category of aggression. So it could
Hmm.
be road rage, but it could also just be the simple actions of following too closely, driving too aggressively in terms of our speed. Speed does come into that, and obviously something to keep an eye on as well.
So, Matt, do we have a profile of who the top offenders are? I mean, if they've self reported in this survey, do you have a profile of these angry drivers? But then again, when it's 96%, I mean, it's basically all of us.
Yeah, the joke is always it's everybody but me, right? So
Right.
unfortunately, that does happen out there. But if you're looking at the top offenders, just based on our data, it was drivers under the age of 60. Interestingly, drivers with a household income of 100,000 or more. So maybe a mentality of I can afford it if I get into a crash or something like that.
Mm.
We don't know exactly what the rationale for those folks was. And then we did see that while women and men are equal offenders when it comes to aggressive driving overall, men are more likely to engage in that confrontational or violent behavior, which may include things like getting out of your vehicle, making physical contact with somebody else's vehicle, following them. There's those kinds of behaviors that are, again, unacceptable. And really, this time of year, this is a time of gratitude and giving and kindness. Hopefully that
Mhm.
translates to how we drive on the roads as well.
That's an interesting take, Matt, because when I think back, the two times that I've been aggressively followed on the road, and they've both happened in Boise, have been men. So I think there probably is a pattern there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that, there's some great solutions if you're the person who's being victimized a little bit. You want to just let it go. If as much as you
Hmm.
can, let it go. Don't try to reflect back the anger that you're dealing with from someone. Try to avoid eye contact. Take another route. Don't go home. Go
Yeah.
somewhere busy. Go near a police station if you know where one is. Do those kinds of things. But also, as far as yourself, if you know that you have a tendency personally to get a little impatient at times, some of the things that people were doing to kind of combat that in our research, they were thinking about the potential consequences. So, where will this lead? Really important question. Just letting the other vehicle pass, finding that music, that
Yeah.
podcast, that audiobook. Some people, about a third, said, "Well, I just curse under my breath." I'm not sure that's a great idea because you we start to see some other things that go with that. But and then other folks, 1 in 4, said, "I focus on my breathing." And that's a great idea. Really, the holidays can be stressful for some. They're trying to find the perfect parking space, the perfect tree, the perfect gift, and it's all got to happen within a defined amount of time. And so maybe some breathing is a good idea, whether you're standing at the checkout line or in the car.
And you know what? You can deep breathe and curse under your breath all at the same time if you need to. So
Multitasking, probably the one
multi
safe kind. The rest is too distracting.
exactly. But I mean, bottom line, Matt, before I let you go, I mean, I think when we look at, how do you calm yourself down, right? Or how do you not engage in this? It truly is like, think about the potential consequences because, I mean, not only do you not want to get into an accident, God forbid you cause an accident that causes harm to someone else, right? Or even if you are not the aggressor and someone still gets hurt in an accident.
Yeah, the moment of frustration can lead to some really dangerous things, and these are consequences no one's looking for. Get back to basics. Everyone is somebody's kid. Everyone is
Hmm.
somebody's friend. Do you want to be the one who, in an act of anger, deprives that whole network of friends and loved ones of this person in their life? I mean, we're going to get to It's a Wonderful Life season here before too long, and that's a great movie as far as the impact of one person on so many. And we don't want to be the cause of that. And we also need to dial down the temperature ourselves. If we're the one that's feeling a little bit more aggressive, please keep in mind that, you know, this too shall pass, right? There's going to be cars out
Hmm.
there that do things, and people are human, and they don't always do the right thing in every situation. Are you going to get revenge or get even, or are you just going to chalk it up to people being human and let it go? And that's really what we're hoping for here.
Well, great advice, Matt. Really appreciate you coming in today. We've been speaking with Matthew Condi. He is the Public and Government Affairs Director with AAA of Idaho. We've been talking about how to keep calm while you're traveling this holiday season. You've been listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. I'm Gemma Gaudette.
Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh from the wide and drift
Gemma,
the snow.
isn't that a song from one of my very favorite Peanut specials?
Yeah, George, it is. It's from a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Now, remember, this is where the gang takes a trip to have Thanksgiving dinner with Charlie's grandma.
It's a lot like so many folks in Idaho who travel to see family during Thanksgiving or the Christmas holiday.
So, George, if you're traveling this holiday season around Idaho, keep your eyes open for possible stories for our Idaho 44 series.
That's right. You're gathering stories from all of Idaho's 44 counties.
Just remember, folks, if you're traveling over the holidays and maybe you see a story idea somewhere, send us a quick email. Just go to idahomatters@boisestate.edu.
And can it be any kind of story?
It can be anything.
So cool. Can I tell you, I just love Charlie Brown.
I mean, who doesn't, George?
Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse has a way to carry the sleigh through the wide and drifting snow. Over the river and through the woods, oh how the wind does blow. It stings the toes and bites the nose. Over the ground we go.